bum bum. Okay, so we are in the dark and test. Pulse. Okay, hello. I'm just having some fun playing with myself. Yes. Let's add some water to this beautiful thing. Wow, that's a big cup. And cheers to our evolution, to our health, wealth, to our dreams coming alive. Cheers to sensing our bodies in the most blissful, beautiful, loving ways, becoming alive and thriving with our embodied minds, bodies, souls, with so much love. I'm really thirsty. And I wanted to do my hair down today, but this is the up. Ooh, hair is so much fun, isn't it? Am I recording? Yes, I am. What is the hair doing? Ooh, it's a new style. Hey, it's called, there we go. It's called There You Go. There we go. There we go. Whoa. So hello, there we go. I decided that I would have some fun with this because I can be total hippie with my hair hanging out and, you know, not even taking care of myself, or I can totally take care of myself. So I'm having fun taking care of myself. And I'm wondering if that music is too loud. I'm just going to turn it off for now because I can't, it's like there's no dimming switch on this. So I just lost that card. I'm letting it be random. Netcaster. That's the reason why I have my glasses. Oops. Preparation come to fruition. So I did prepare for this conversation by doing my hair and putting on makeup. Alas, I did not entirely prepare about what I was going to talk about. So let's just say I've been preparing to talk. And so what else shall I talk about today? Repairing the veil, forgiveness, being inspiration, and the muse. So I'll just let the cards help me, align me. And I know I want to speak about coming alive with our bodies and releasing trauma and coming home to our hearts, bodies, and souls. Here we go. So it's giving me a couple of these. So treasures hidden within the shadows and the authentic self. Perfect. I've got what I'm going to talk about right here. And this is perfect. So then I have a little bit of further inspiration to work with this. So let me show you. We've got Netcaster. preparation coming to fruition, which is this moment, repairing the veil, forgiveness, forgive myself for not coming on earlier, for not believing in myself, forgive you for saying weird things to me if you ever did. Joyful muse, inspiration. So how can I be of inspiration? How can we be inspiring inspiration? Will of the wisp, treasures hidden in shadows. We all have treasures hidden in our shadows, and many masks, the authentic self. I'm just giving you a bit of an overview. Looks like this is backwards. Didn't I have it? Well, forgive me until I get used to doing this. I thought I had it flipped. We'll see how it ends. So what else? Oh, here we go. This is what else. I am presence, light body activation, and Akashic Stargate, align with purpose, crossroads, no wrong path. That is so what I needed to know, assessing the divine within. So I was planning on shuffling this a little bit further. What does the audience here want to know? What do they want to know? What do you want to know? What is good for the audience? Here we go. This one's coming out. Star gathering, stars aligned, remembering home and remembering the soul family. So if you're here, I imagine you are soul family. And I'm not liking the hat today. The hat's name is Crushed because it literally got run over by a car when I was bike riding in Tulum, Mexico, and I was having like a sad moment, and my hat flew off. It's the size large, and I wear a size medium, but I really wanted black. I know this doesn't look black right now. It's probably looking gray. It's gotten a lot of sun damage, and the dye came out, and so I have to go back to Mexico and get more hats or get some from my friends. So let's talk about transformation, because this is what we're doing. I've been personally going on a really long transformational journey, and it's been a beautiful experience as well as very challenging. A lot of spiritual emergencies. As I learned in grad school, we talk about spiritual emergencies. So, what is a spiritual emergency? A spiritual emergency is that moment where you're like, oh my God, there's so much more to it than I ever realized. And there's this essence, this energy wanting to percolate through my body, through my life experience, my soul, my body, my mind, my heart, is begging me to evolve, to upgrade, to elevate into a new modality. And it's not what you knew or what I knew previously. So, oh my gosh, talk about spiritual emergency. A lot of things can set off spiritual emergency. It can be that you've done a lot of ayahuasca and you're like, oh my, you had all these major epiphanies and these visions, and then you're not sure how to integrate them, or the integration is a bit of a rough road. So spiritual emergency, it's like the emergence of your spirit, your soul self calling you forth, coming alive through your embodiment. And we don't always have the structures to align our soul and our spirit with our embodiment, with our community, with our job, with our family or our partners, or anything, with our understanding of who we are, your identity. So a lot of times when we have spiritual emergence, it becomes an emergency of identity shift, because your identity is no longer what you thought it was. Your connections are no longer what you thought it was. It doesn't matter to you anymore, or it's losing its flair, its essence, its quality of worth, treasure, value. So when you have spiritual emergence, a lot of times new information is coming in and you don't have a place to put it. It doesn't fit in your existing idea of who you are and how you interact with the world. So I'm talking about spiritual emergence because I've had a lot of spiritual emergence. And so I'm casting a net to all my preparation, my personal preparation of my spiritual emergence, my emergencies are coming to fruition. I have for a long time been like, I'm going to get out here and, you know, do videos, write, Instagram, journal, photograph. And one thing after another happened to where it wasn't the time. And for another thing is that I wanted to come out when into the world when I felt ready. And I personally had my fair share of trauma, like a lot of people. I had massive PTSD. I was literally that person, like looking left and right, being like, where's the safe place? Where's the corner? Okay, I'm going to go over here. Is there something I can lean against so that no one is not darting their energy at me? Because I'm very sensitive to energy. So sensitive. Whenever I think about that, I think about one time when I was at a rave. I think it was like in Baltimore or somewhere, one of those big warehouse raves, and I have my cutesy little pink backpack on, and my boyfriend and I were going through the crowds, and I felt someone put their hand in my backpack, and I went and I went into my backpack and I grabbed their hand, and I knew that someone was, and they were like so sly, thief, sticking their hand, and they were so sly that I couldn't even tell which of the five people behind me was the person. They're all like totally doing something different, So um the sensitivity, a lot of times we have to protect it. So a lot of people are sensitive, empaths, compassion, connecting with the elements, connecting with ourselves, connecting with each other. We're all naturally psychic, in my humble, but not so humble opinion. I am HO, I am O. Um, that's one of my favorite acronyms, because it is opinion, and it's my experience that my opinion comes from, but also I feel like I personally came here with a lot of information to share. Since I was a child, I thought life was different than it was in society, and I was confused. I was like, why don't these people know this, and don't you know this? Um and I didn't know how to talk about it and explain it. So I actually withheld a lot of my vision, my dreams, my experiences, what I feel I came here to be. And I told myself to remember, remember, remember. Amnesis. So that is something that spiritually, that's the remembrance of past life, future life, parallel lives, remembrance of my essence and what I came here to be. So I have not personally struggled with, out there ideas. I can handle out there. I can handle what I can't handle is way too structured, boxed, and boring. But the thing is that, boring is perspective. Nothing is boring for me. Yet if someone is trying to box me and push me into a box and a way of being, then my eyes might glaze over and I might literally become very tired and irritated. So I so bars are not very interesting for me unless I drink, and I didn't drink for a long time. So I understand why people drink, because they don't want to be in that boxed in or boring kind of space. They want to be out there. They want to let loose, and they want to be more open to flow. So how does flow work? Flow works in space. And what's in space? It's the fabric of a reality that we've woven together. So it's an architecture according to what the existing idea of that space is. It's the identity of that space, the identity of your embodiment, the identity of your thoughts, who you think you are, the identity of your role, the identity of your society, the identity of your relationship. These identities. You've got a building, it's got four it's got foundational poles, four poles, some walls and things like that. So that's the definition of the architecture of the building. It has windows, it has doors. And so how can flow go through that? So air flows through that, light flows through it. How are the windows working? Which angle are they at? When's the sun rise? When's the sun set? Where's the wind coming from? So the different kinds of flow being air, communication, sun, light, fire, vision, seeing, and water, emotions. So these are different kinds of flows that can happen in different kinds of architecture. So we're talking about the elements, but also the flow of thought and feeling, the flow of connection, interweaving, the flow of ideas, the flow of creation. Flow is everything, and it's architected. Flow is architected. This is the part that so many people in the early days of just flow with it is like, well, is that a flow that I want to have? Is that an architecture of flow? Are those my values? Are those within my standards? Is this worth my time? Do I want to flow like this? So this is what I write about for a book that I'm writing, which might end up being video, who knows? But right now I'm just being video on this. And so this has been a big paradigm for me about looking at the architecture, because for one, in my early 20s, being one of the first women of the web, or the first woman of the web, I haven't done my research to really see, like, was I the first woman of the web? But I was called the first woman, or one of the first women of the web, when I was in my 20s in the 90s. So I was an information architect and designer, product designer, and for digital innovations. So looking at the flow of digital information, flow of user experience, flow of data coming in, and how that data is going to be architected, how the user experience is going to be architected and designed. And then also, so for me, information architecture started with digital design. And later I was looking at, not too much later, I guess, like 97, I went to Burning Man for the first time with an architect that I met at the Extropian conference, which has turned into, a lot of people have gone into Singularity, like Singularity Summit, Singularity University. And predecessor was Extropian Conference with Max Moore and Natasha Vita Moore. And from San Diego, I met them in person a few times at the conferences, and Singularity Summit and other places, and Extropian Conference, of course. Last, I met people there, and one of the people I met there was Fred Stitt, who created San Francisco Institute of Architecture. And so I was reading these books about architecture, what people were looking at architecture in the 60s, and like new concepts of, and Buckminster Fuller prior to that even, and looking at the architecture of information, of design, of housing, of space. And so my mom has always been into real estate, housing, uh, nature, beauty. She's a designer, and she designs her house constantly. And so looking, and she was a realtor, and she was also what do you call it, the person who audits the house, not audit, appraiser, appraises. She's a house appraiser. So we would, I grew up going to look at houses and consider all the parts, as well as like looking at a meal and considering it, and you know, the tasting, and looking at a sunset and a plant. And so I've really, on my mom's side, really looked at the beauty and essence of um, living. And then my dad's side is, you know, logic and reason, coming from um, systems analyst technology in Silicon Valley. And so that made for a good information architect, and looking at like what do we need as humanity to create digitally. And my mentor is also one of the early founders of the internet and early web, and I'm one of the first web people, woman of the web. And I'm trying to claim that one, I think, or I am claiming that one because it's true. It's totally true. So, you know, I created predecessors to Facebook, but my point is that in Boston, my point is that architecture, architecture of our identity and spiritual emergence. What happens when you're having Kundalini awakening, like you've done too much yoga, done too much ayahuasca, done too much DMT, or done too much, and you're all this stuff is roaring through your body, and it has no way to contain it because it has no place to put it. So that creates often division and fragmentation in personalities, where people either can't handle all this information and it doesn't work in society at spiritual emergence, or it doesn't work in their work, it doesn't work in their belief and understanding of who they are, it doesn't work in their family, it doesn't work in their friend circle. Then they don't have places to put this experience that's emerging through them spiritually. So they might look for yoga or a spiritual um, teacher, or different kinds of spiritual things, or different servers, different shaman, different coaches and psychologists. And that can be really challenging when you have this new information, this creative force, this source of spirit coming through you that you hadn't known, and it doesn't fit in your existing architecture of how you have created your life. Then that's spiritual emergence, which can often be emergency. So in Kundalini awakening, people might seem a little bit crazy because they're seeing lights, they're hearing voices. And a lot of times these lights are, you know, this vision, this artistic vision, this soulful vision, or the conduits, the filigree of your nervous system coming into a new kind of dreamlike experience. And then there can be like the voices. Maybe these are, you know, voices of your previous lives, or the Akashic record, or things that you're wanting to tap into, or, you know, your family, or parts of yourself that you've lost. And so, or you're actually tapping into spirits and you didn't know that you had that capacity, and you don't know what to do with it. Or, you know, voices can be anything. So when people have spiritual emergence and Kundalini awakening, and they start hearing voices, and they don't know what to do with it, and they don't know where it's coming from. And so that's it's or maybe they do. And for me, if, you know, I heard voices, I'd be like, okay, where's that voice coming from? Or you ask it. So, okay, voice, what are you? What are you trying to tell me, and why are you here? And you start getting that essence. And so this is why I'm talking here, is because I've gone through a lot of this spiritual emergence, and having the traumas that I had experienced, that it wasn't about voices for me, but it was about feeling, like feelings that I was uncomfortable with, that I didn't want to feel, like basically my libido. And I think I did a recording about my sexual healing, and I never posted that one. I ended up having struggle with edits or something. I don't remember what, but and and I thought it might have been too much, but um so my physical architecture is literally malformed from trauma. So I've got scoliosis, or it's I'm aligning, I'm getting taller, like, and I feel like I should be 2 inches taller, and I'm working on it, and I've been discovering ways to do that. But at first, when I was feeling all that feeling, it was like shocks going through my system. And I felt like I was having seizures, and that like my whole body was like, and I was meditating with a guru, Swami Nardanan uh, Nardanan, yeah, from India with Tapasya Ma, and I was doing Shakti bliss meditation, or bliss consciousness meditation, Shakti bliss consciousness meditation, and it was about the prana and the chi coming through you. So like all the stuff was surging through me, and I was like totally like fell in love with this guy, and he like woke me up, and I was like, all the stuff is surging, and I'm like, oh my god, I haven't felt that. And I I had sex and I enjoyed it, and I had great times. I had excellent sex. At times I can orgasm. I'm not timid like that, but it's got to be kind of like the right thing for me. And so sometimes, I had partners that I totally didn't orgasm with, and then I had partners I orgasm with every time. So it depends on the chemistry, and um, whether I feel comfortable or not. Yet, what I didn't really have is my libido wasn't turned on, because I didn't want to let people know that I was sexually turned on. So I would just like cut it off because I was afraid of that. But that was what was happening in my spiritual emergence, is my architecture, my scoliosis, my body, the Kundalini could not like go up through my body, and it was just like and my whole body would like jerk, and I would get visions, and I would and it was a lot of pain and a lot of fear and a lot of like stuff. And I'm not gonna have tell everything that happened, but it was it was scary for me. I have this spiritual emergence, and I didn't have a coach at the time. Now I have a few coaches. I mean, I had some actually no, I did. I had my I had I've had coaches over time. I mean, I had Swami Nardanand and Tapasya Ma, and they were just like, "This is your thing. Like, go ahead and just you've been waiting for this." And that's literally like energy surging through me that I hadn't experienced. So that was my personal spiritual emergency, where my libido was actually on more than ever, and it was bursting light through my spine, which is crooked. And I was doing breath work and meditation, but now over the years, my breath work, meditation, and movement therapy has really allowed more of this energy to surge through. But also at first, I had to like break through the blocks, and the blockages were like my whole body. Like I already said it the third time. Um, it was seizure like. And I always hoped I would do that with my partner, and it would just be through like ecstatic sex and stuff like that. But that's not what happened. The guy that I wanted to be with was not there for me in my deep desire and hope to connect on a super epic level with a man, where like outstanding sex, like I'm still holding out for that. Not holding out, like I'm grateful for that, because I know that happens in this lifetime with an amazing guy who's super stoked on taking care of my heart, taking care of my body, being wanting me to enjoy and surge this potency through me. Because um well because what happened was, it felt like my sexuality was taken from me, because I had wanted to have my potency shared with my beloved, not the person who raped me as a child. I did not give him consent to rape me. No, he in fact drugged me and raped me. But the so yeah, that's what happened. And I don't think I posted the video that said that in there. So here you go. Um, so that's been my deepest desire, is to connect with my beloved who honors my every movement and engages with that potency, because my potency was removed from me by not giving me a chance to live the way I wanted to live my sexual potency. So forgive them. They know not what they do. I feel like this is like humanity is sexual, and men have urges. And I guess little girls are interesting to them, which is weird for the little girls and their mothers and their aunts and so many of us. I didn't want that. I didn't choose that. It was forced upon me. And so I got scoliosis. I, you know, hid myself and I didn't get to become a woman. So now I'm becoming a woman. And I really hope that I can, have my spine aligned and my body back. And I'm reclaiming my embodiment. I'm doing all I can to release the PTSD, the post-traumatic stress disorder. My back was literally on fire in stuck pain for over 20 years. And I'm not going to say for how long. So my next card is repairing the veil, forgiveness. So, like I said, forgive them, they know not what they do. I feel that if men knew how much they were hurting people, or women, or anyone who takes advantage of innocent sexual potency, that if they knew that the potency was within them and that they didn't have to take it from someone, then they would choose differently. So this can really get into the history of sex and the sexuality of humanity. And I won't go there because it's a really vast topic that I'm still studying. And I'm studying it within myself, within my own sexuality. And because I did not give consent when I was a child, it was all stuffed in me and it was very confusing. Pleasure and pain were mixed. And so I didn't allow myself to have pleasure because it was painful, because I didn't want to hurt, you know, my mom, because that was her second husband, not my dad. And so that really made it very confusing for me in relations. And I repeated the pattern by being the third wheel in multiple relationships, including the one where my libido was like activated, and it was really, really uncomfortable and really scary. And I went through all the pain of my childhood trauma of being taken advantage of by my mother's second husband, who she was with, and then he would go in the dungeon, pull me in the dungeon, and in the darkness do things to me that were really uncomfortable and scary on drugs. So I'm pretty sure it was ketamine. I always thought it was cocaine because it was a white powder, but I realized that ketamine has been around since my birth. So, or just shortly after my birth. And so later in my years, I tried it. For a long time, I was like, no, I won't do that because it's, you lose kind of, you disassociate and you lose control of your limbs and you're like, ooh, you're wobbly and stuff. And so I wouldn't do it at raves. And I was like, no, I don't do that. And I was like straight edge and stuff like that for so many years. And then I realized that I was really uptight and, I always wanted to find the people to do like psychedelics with and go out and venture with. But I was so uptight that I didn't really find the people, or I was, finding people that were repeating my abuse patterns and, like being rejected or not giving me the joy and pleasure that I would choose to have, rather uncomfortable situations instead. So, what was I saying? Um, Repairing the veil, forgiveness, the discomfort of my body, um, history of sex, my own experience of it. And so, you know, in that, like what fires together wires together, as a lot of neuroscientists speak about, and Dr. Joe Dispenza, is what fires together wires together. So when you are raped or battered or have some sort of abuse happens to you, that experience is wired with that experience. So if you're raped while being hit or, something like that, which wasn't what I had, but then your sexuality has shifted into being hit while, and a scary situation. So for me, it was like disassociating and being in other worlds, and then like someone doing weird things to me, and being super uncomfortable, and like basically leaving. I would leave my body because it wasn't safe to be in my body, because I was like, and I remember crying and how uncomfortable it was, and then like out, and in that out space, I went into the dream space, and I've always been into dreams even before my mom even met this guy. So it wasn't just that brought it to me. I've always been into dreams since I can first remember talking. I was like, remember that dream? Okay, it was just a dream. I think I spoke about that in a different earlier one. So what I'm trying to get at is I'm just letting things kind of go naturally, and letting it be long and seeing what happens and being organic with this. So, yeah, so repairing the veil, forgiveness, um, going into dream time. So, there's a few things here, is that the learning to forgive ourselves. And it's been really challenging for me to forgive my mom's second husband for doing that to me. I haven't gotten there yet, um, because I'm still discovering how to have my sexuality as mine, owning it. So I'm reclaiming myself and repairing the veil, repairing the experience, repairing the veil being, the essence between spirit and embodiment, the veil in between, the aura, the skin, even the that which you can't see beyond. So forgiving that was my experience. I mean, you know, why did my soul choose this? Why did my soul experience this? And um, my mother actually worked with psychics, with a psychic named Sylvia Brown, when I was a child. So I have some information on that from the psychic, and I also have information on that from uh, dream quests or vision quests that I've gone and seen previous lives. future lives, parallel lives. And so, whether it's written in the Akashic record or the DNA or just resembling, I do believe in lives, parallel lives, previous lives, future lives. And so that's a part of my experience, my belief. And I've believed that since I can first remember. So, and that's what I told myself to remember, remember. So remember your lives. And so I remember your experiences, remember everything, remember who you are, what you came here for. And I came here to remember my previous lives, future lives, parallel lives, my dream spaces, my inner worlds. And this has been my experience. And that happened. It's still challenging for me to work with, and I do have coaches, and so I guess I don't want to go into the spirit or soul of that too much yet. Being able to ultimately, if I have my body back and my sexuality, my sensuality back, if I get a chance to be with my beloved in this lifetime, my beloved, my choice, the person who chooses me, and I can be a life, a light, a love for him, and that he can be that for me. Wow, I would be so grateful. So please, it seems I've got to forgive that I've gone through all this challenging spaces and this spiritual emergence, and it's like it's happened so I can share this with you. So um I forgive you for not knowing what you do. Please forgive me for not knowing what I do. I'm here to be the best version of myself, the most elevated, most vibrationally aligned and resonant with what this embodiment is here for. And this is what my life is about. And this is how I hope to help you. So, how can we be joyful muses? How can we be inspiration to each other? So, to inspire is to bring breath into the world, breath, the spirit of life, to inspire spirit in essence, in architecture, in being, in each other. Spirit connect with spirit and go poof, create this beautiful light life. And this is what I dream of, living with my beloved. And believe me, I thought I met my beloved a few times, a couple times, especially last time. And every time it's gotten better. And some people say that you date your chakras. So first you're the root, then you're the sexual, uh, oh, I forgot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's like I went into, well, it hasn't really happened to me that way, like up, because, but I've dated enough people to have every chakra covered. And so receiving the downloads of each person. And so, you know, it's almost like that's the 60s thing, is like, go experiment and discover what you like. Experiment in dating, experiment in sex, experiment in love, experiment, go journey. So myself and the people that I'm attracted to have really gone into the journey space and explored different essences. And so for me, my beloved will have done that and will appreciate that in me. And then we're excited to explore together and inspire each other, be those spirits that inspire and uplift, elevate, and encourage, and exponentiate, like expand and deepen potential. That's when two circles come together, they create a third, and then they can create this spiraling vortex and share the attraction. And so that's, when I think about people inspiring people, and I'm talking about sexuality, my vision has always been to really be with this amazing man. And so how do I be that amazing man to myself? How do I be that amazing woman to myself? So that's where I'm like, oh, put on makeup and like, and then, but also I had a lot of masculine jobs working in tech. Even though I was designer, it was still pretty masculine, a lot of men. And so I was inspired to work on this tech, yet I was inspired to work on it to create media spaces, and I'm creating something there too. So I still keep on talking about myself. This is still the first view. I will get used to maybe speaking to you, for you, inspiring you. So how may I be a joyful muse and inspire you? Because that's what we do. This is why I'm creating this video, is to share my expertise, my experience, my dreams, my visions, to get back into that space of sharing. Because honestly, it was not always very safe for me, or I would, connect with someone in one way, but not in another way. So this is my space where I can connect with you in all the ways, and where I can engage in communication in through my voice, and through seeing me, and through my cards, and through just having fun. So I do play music, but I just haven't been able to record it very well. And then I need to practice a little bit more. So I'll practice after with my Shruti box. And because I feel like maybe my music is maybe just for ceremony, and I have like all my ceremony instruments. So I'm looking forward to the time that I do ceremony again, so I can be joyful muse and inspiration. So speaking a little bit more about inspiration is, the inspiration of two souls together. It doesn't have to be your beloved. It can just be someone walking down the street and they say something, or they pick something up, or they do something that's inspiring, or they look some way, or they breathe and exhale, like, oh, I want to exhale and sigh like that. Or so we can inspire each other by being our authentic selves, by being the I am presence, by being the like activating our light body, accessing the divine within. So that's been my motivation for all my spiritual instruments, is so that I may be a muse in divine instrumentation. Alas, I had these blockages through my spine, and so how can I actually reclaim my body and be my full self, where our sexuality, our sensuality is, and if you're an artist, that's a huge part of your gift, and bringing that into space. So here I am aiming to do that through this video. We'll see where it goes. I feel like I'm going to be, I said this before, organically going with this, and it's ending up being cards being that helps me where I go with this conversation. So right now I'm just still sharing about myself, and more than I want to be. I want to be inspiring you. So know that that is my goal. At the same time, I have a lot to say about my experiences. And so one of the big cards that we have here is Will of the Wisp, treasures hidden in the shadows. So that's the huge thing about spiritual emergence, is that in the shadows, there's this light the stars, the other masks, the authentic self that hasn't been seen, that hasn't been known, that hasn't been felt. So there are ways to access these hidden treasures in the darkness. And sometimes when like all these hidden treasures are bubbling up, like my libido Kundalini like light, like like a shock, that was the hidden treasure. Like, of course, most of us want to enjoy sexual pleasure, right? And having your libido. I didn't realize how turned off my libido was. I didn't even know. I mean, I had a libido. I wanted, but I didn't realize that it could just go out in the world. It could just go and that I could breathe it through and channel it. So that's the joyful muse, channeling the inspiration into music, into speaking, into cards, into and the full breath, like. So I was doing Montauk Chia kind of breathing and different holds, and I've done Kundalini yoga and Kundalini breath and pranayam, but this bliss consciousness meditation was the one, because I literally was also meditating 5 hours a day because that's what Swami Nardanan told me to do. And um, so, and I saw all this stuff coming up, and all these treasures were coming out. And a lot of them were stuffed in there because what fires together wires together. So my pleasure was wired with guilt, discomfort, disruption. No, 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 I don't want this. No, no, like me trying to hold it back, saying like, no, I don't want this. I don't want this. No, 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 and then forced, feeling what you don't want to feel. So treasures hidden in the shadows. So my libido was stuffed into the shadows more than I realized, um, because it wasn't a safe place for me to be. And not only that, being an attractive woman, all these people were coming at me, wanting something from me, and I didn't have very good boundaries and or even skills on knowing what my architecture and my identity was, because it was taken from me. And I didn't and it was taken from me in multiple ways. Just being a woman in society, you often have your identity kind of raked over the coals and like put into a box because you're used, you're a commodity, you're to be. And that's also just the Western world. A lot of times it commoditizes and objectifies people so that they can be used for something. And so I was used in ways that I did not want to be used, and yet it happened because I didn't know how to stop it. I didn't realize I could say no. I didn't, and sometimes I couldn't say no because, like, when my mother's husband, my stepfather, like, came in, I was asleep. He put the drugs up my nose while I was asleep, and he tied me up. I had no choice. So I was stuck there experiencing this. And this is like what happens to a lot of people. It doesn't have to be so extreme. It could be like you have to eat something you're actually allergic to or you don't like and you barf, or like for me, I didn't like to eat a lot either. So then I would have to like sit at the dinner table and force myself to eat food that I didn't want to eat. And also the way I discovered that the way my rhythm is different than my family's rhythm was. So I was hungry up until dark, and then we would have dinner after dark, and I was like no longer hungry. So I wanted to eat food until like dark, and that's what I noticed in my adult life is like I'm only hungry while it's light. And so and that's been discovery because I became a little bit overweight, or, people don't, not a lot. And in fact, people, when I became the weight that I love, people would be like, you're underweight. And so I had to like let people know, like, no, this is actually what I like being. And maybe I've got ribs showing because I don't have muscle there. And it took me a long time to realize that, oh, the ribs showing on this part is actually lack of muscle, not lack of fat. And no, I'm not too thin, So, and that's what would happen is I would get this ribby thing going on when I would become my ultimate, my desired body. So it's about architecting that. What do I love being? What do I love feeling? What to, I feel I go off in tangents. So I'm like, how did I get here? So we were talking about the treasures hidden, and so I'm reclaiming my body and reclaiming the weight that I enjoy being, the muscles I like to have, or what's my nature, and what what wants to come through my body, the inspiration, the muse, the I am presence, the divine, the treasures that were hidden in the shadows that are coming through, and creating a new architecture for my body so that these treasures can become a new light, a new gift, a new weaving, a new part of me, a new identity. And so that's the many masks card. So incredible, that the authentic self, the many masks. So what happens when we have these hidden treasures, or these parts of ourselves that we stuffed in, and then we do, healing or medicine, or connect with someone that awakens us, then all these treasures start going and they start wanting to come through, and every person has it in a different way. So, and then that's your spirit, your spiritual emergence is coming through to create a new identity, or a new authentic self from the masks. And so you might have one mask is one identity, and I'm this professional person that does this, or I'm this artist and I do that, or I'm a whatever, let's just do those two because I don't want to talk about the other ones. But people can decide that they're this, that, or that. So the question is, what are you deciding you are? And can you diversify yourself? Can you see that you have multiple identities and masks, or different parts of yourself? And can you unify them into one? So, star gathering, stars aligned, remembering home, soul family. So a lot of times people, when they have these different parts, or these different lights, these different, that one part of themselves thinks that light over there is crazy, and the other part over here think that light over there is boring. So at one point you're here and you're like, oh, that's a boring part of me, I'll never be that. And then you end up going over here and you're like, oh, that's a crazy part of me that I don't know why that exists. And then you kind of like switch between these different parts, and it gets confusing, and you're not being present with your total full self, that you have multiple facets, and there's a core being, in the center, your soul embodied in your body, and you have different ways of being, and it can be a diversification of being. And so that's an expansion of old identity, or an addition to the different facets of how you can look out your star vehicle. So I've had this vision when I was doing these meditations, and I was also doing, so I was doing Shakti Bliss, I was doing Yoga Nidra, I was doing the Beamer mat, and now I'm really into the next level frequency system called the Cloud, and I sell that Central Pix Cloud. So ask me about it, or I should put a link here since I'm talking about it. And I also sell water machines. Excuse me. Oh, that's so California. So I was just thinking like, oh no, I shouldn't have said that. Um, but that's a part of me that's still coming through. And so that's one of my masks. The bad girl, you shouldn't have done that, you know. And so, or that's one of the voices like, uh-oh, maybe you shouldn't speak that because, well, like all these reasons why not. So, but if I'm really just channeling, then my light body is activated. I'm accessing the divine within and it's coming through. So that's the I am presence, but that can also be architected, chosen, decided. Um, Yet your light body is all the filigree, all the filaments, all the light, all the experiences coming through you. I have so much to say about that. I did want to speak more about trauma. Yet, wow, like talk about the light body activation and accessing the divine within. So, one of the offerings that I do is bringing people through experiences of their own light body and activating their light body. And the way that we do that is drinking proper water, frequency machines, but also the frequency of our own voice, our breath, the alignment of our bodies. And and talks. So I was doing these talks called, I used to have a company called Vibe Science, and people wanted to own that. So they took it from me. And it was while I was going through my spiritual emergency. And even at the end, I still had one Vibe Science property that someone took. And I was like, no. But, you know, I guess that's just, they took it. So it's, it's not, it's not the, it's not the vibes anymore. So I have new offerings, which are called Updream, but also um, the music and activating your light body. So I did do experiences with the Shruti box or the harmonium. I still have a harmonium in Tulum, Mexico, but it's old. It's been around the world and it's probably needs an update, but it still works. Last I used it. And so I bring people through the chords and through the chakras and through breath and through humming and singing and visualizing. So I talk about ourselves as we are the instruments. This architecture, this body is an instrument. So we can activate the instrument and play the instrument in so many different ways. So it's beautiful to have these instruments of these bodies and playing them. So, how do we activate our light bodies through our instruments? Is through breath, through sound, through vision, sensing, hearing, imagining, feeling, thinking. I call it the shift because it's sense, hear, imagine, feel, think, shift. So, how do you want to shift your moment into your decisive space, into your intention, into your elevated space? So, we do that in workshop ceremony that I do in person. I've done it online before, but it just didn't seem, I don't think the music was really coming through. So it's way better in person. And so let's activate our instruments, these architectures, this identity, this multifaceted identity, and coming from the spaceship of yourself. Oh my God, yes, the spaceship of your energy body, the spaceship of your Merkaba. We're sitting in a Merkaba, the pyramid, and then this one, and it spins different directions. And so that's one vehicle, that light body vehicle that we have is a spinning Merkabas. They each spin in different direction. One is male, one is female, and it creates like a spin. And when I first started visualizing this, my Merkaba was like, like broken. I was like, oh, I crashed. So it's a lot better space now. And same thing with the Sri Yantra. The first time I looked at the Sri Yantra and did meditation with the Sri Yantra is I had blind spots. So now I can see better. And then also with the chakras and the breathing and the prana, there's different ways that we can activate our bodies through the light, and the light being the light codes of sound, the light codes of imagination, the light codes of thought, the light codes of feeling, the light codes of what we can hear and what we listen to, the light codes of all the senses. So if you think about these being vibrations or codes, then they can be different hues, different colors, different saturations, different tones, different experiences. So when we talk about our identity or our architecture, it's like what tone, what fragrance, what color, what hue, what vibe, what velocity, what undulation, like I how do you skip from what you're actually seeing and feeling to vibe? But is these are the codes. So just talk about the code of your language, the code of your imagination. These are codes, the codes of what you're saying, the spells. The spells that you speak are your codes. So, what are you creating in your life? And what do you want to create? How do you want to upgrade your life through your spells? How do you want to change or shift your identity? How do you want to enjoy your identity? How do you want to listen to the multiple parts of yourself and bring them into alignment as one? So that's the vision that I was going to mention, is that these facets of your, so one is a Merkaba, two is that you're sitting in a crystal, multifaceted crystal. I believe that from I've looked at different sacred geometries and thought, okay, it's the dodecahedron, it's a tetrahedron or whatever. So and a dodecahedron, I think, was the one that really resonated, but I have to look that up again. But whatever your faceted crystal spaceship might be, every facet is like a window or a trajectory through space. So these are the multiple different perspectives that you can go into space, time, whether you can travel into the world. So do you want love? Do you want joy? Do you want bliss? Do you want happiness? Do you want connection? Do you want beauty? Do you want stillness? Do you want grounding? These are the different facets that are even values of being human. So, what do you value being? What do you value traveling through in life as you? What identity would you like? You don't need to solidify this, but what because if you solidify it, you might box it and might be square edges, but really maybe you're this dodecahedron or icosahedron or tetrahedron, or this multifaceted, multi-angled, multi-connected being. So enjoying the connections, the inspirations of one connection and another, and the joy of being embodied in your spaceship that's creating energy. Oh, I don't even know which way it goes. I'll figure this one out. And traveling through space and time as you, embodied in this beautiful architecture of human embodiment, this identity that has skin and thoughts and feelings, and it can transform, especially in and through spiritual emergence. So we're at the Akashic Stargate, aligned with purpose, crossroads, no wrong path. So that was one of the early ones, is the Akashic that I picked, or of this second set. I picked all of these early. They were all early ones. And so I was talking about the Akashic records. So, I came to life feeling connected to the Akashic records. Remember, aligning with my purpose was so key for me that I went into this massive spiritual emergence where I just looked like a weirdo to a lot of people. A lot of people understood me and loved me, or like, how do you do it? Yet other people were like, what's the matter with you? You don't have a dime. You don't have any money. Go get a job. It's like, well, it got stolen from me and I just want to live my life, and I can't just go work again for these people that want me to work for their thing. And bless their heart, it's an amazing thing, but it's not my thing. So that was a long journey of like reclaiming my, not just my libido, but reclaiming my essence, reclaiming my spirit, reclaiming what I came here to be, and having this spiritual emergence of all this information coming through that I hadn't allowed, which is a great PowerPoint for me. And how to work with it so that I'm not like blubbering over this guy like I did. Oh, I love you so much. Oh, he is not ready for me, or he didn't like me. Oh my gosh. How embarrassing. I allowed myself to be a fool. And, you know, when I was living on the beach, I didn't have makeup on. My hair was frizzed out. I was over bleached, and then I was trying to make my business, and there was no electricity and there was no Wi-Fi and no money, no food. So, I meditated and breathed and met amazing people and attempted to get myself out there. But then, something would happen. Either I'd be super depressed, or things didn't work out, or, I just didn't have a good outlook. So I had promised myself, like I said earlier, that I wouldn't come out to the world, write my books, offer my experiences if I have a chip on my shoulder and I'm bad vibes. So when through my spiritual emergency, all this stuff came up that I didn't know how to deal with, and I still had not the vibes that I would love to have, and that I plan to have, and that I want to have, and that I thought I had, but I actually didn't have, because I had all these triggers that I didn't know what to do with, that were based on traumas or past lives, or connecting with people that didn't know what I was going through and didn't know how to handle it, or I didn't know how to communicate it, or they're just not the people that were my medicine at the time. So learning how to be the medicine to everyone, or anyone, or the right people, the people who are seeking my medicine, is the best space for me to be in, and who appreciate and who love it, even if it's rambling for an hour like I have been, right? How long has it been? I didn't even check the time. So I hope that if you're watching this, that this is some medicine for you. I'm probably just going to upload it all. I don't know if I'm going to do any snippets. I hope that I will do some cutting up of pieces so that I can put it on my Instagram and have something. Yet still, I'm just kind of talking in this like, and my experience in life, and so the goal is to be sharing wisdom so that you can come alive in your life, reclaim yourself, realize that there are people in this world who have had deep experiences that were challenging and that they've come through, and that we are here for each other. And that's what I really wanted to talk about earlier today. I was like, I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to talk about, I should write it down. And I didn't write it down. And so now I'm remembering I wanted to really talk about how we are evolving. This is our evolution. This is our time to come alive, humanity. There might be this and that happening, and people trying to slot you into this box and tell you to do this and watch that and pay attention to that and fear this and fear them and fear that, and all this divisive devices. Oh, wow, that's division devices. And so the key thing is to connect with yourself and what you're here to do. Because when you are that light, when you're present with what you came here to be, that is your evolution. Becoming that more and more fully and inspiring others and connecting that inspiration throughout the world. Imagine if we all evolve together. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I think we're doing it. That's why we created the internet. That's why we're all casting nets of information. We're sending it out there. We've prepared and we've cast these waves of potency and wisdom and gems and treasures. We're weaving all of this with our prayers, and we're putting it out there into the world to share as a light, as a gift. So may you be inspired by this. May you be inspired by yourself, your gifts, your inspiration, your breath, your life, your remembering, your shadows coming out, the treasures coming out of the shadows into the light, and being able to contain it, align with it, connect the dots, create wholeness with every part of you. May you have all that you need to come alive. May you have all that you need to remember. May you have all that you need, hope, want, and dream for, that you envision, that you remember, that you channel. May you have this oomph, this creation, this momentum for you, for your soul, for your evolution, for your family, for your friends, for your community, your culture, your nation, the world. We're all connected. May all of us be weaving the filigrees of love and light, human value, peace, bliss, grace, all that jazz that we love. Being those codes of light are being woven in the shared net of life, thriving with grace and harmony and resonance on earth. And so it is. Boom. Okay, should I play the flute? What does it say here? It says nothing wrong. I just need to read my card to remember. No wrong path. It's so loud if I play the flute. Okay, I'll play. Just let's see if I can. Okay, my spells. It is my intention to play the flute about how we are evolving. Okay, a little tester. I was just playing this other flute at this local fair, peddler's fair that we had here. I would love to have a flute for every A B C D E F G, every note. Sorry, I, I I learned music later. So, and I played a G note at the peddler's fair, and I'm just dreaming about having this flute. It's $260. I would love it. So, if anyone would like to have some coaching or an astrology reading or even oracle card reading with me, let me know, and I will leave a link to my website, which you may access a form to say hello to me. So, Adu, I am D Loven, D Love. I'm still figuring out what that full thing is from Lotus Love Dreams. That I already know. So, D Love from Lotus Love Dreams. Over and out. May the earth evolve. May we evolve together. We are so much love. Boop, boop, boop. Stop.